Red Hat will be deprecating the KDE Plasma Desktop Environment by 2024. News was broken earlier this week by the Register, and they do mention, or perhaps joke, that the IBM takeover, or they bought Red Hat for $34 billion, was a distraction to axe KDE. Let's take a look at the changelog, and indeed there is the confirmation that KDE has been deprecated. So KDE Plasma Workspaces, KDE, which has been provided as an alternative to the default GNOME desktop environment, will be deprecated. A future major release of Red Hat Enterprise Linux will no longer support using KDE instead of the default GNOME desktop environment. My immediate thoughts are, how much of an issue will this really be? I would imagine that most users of Red Hat are actually running in a headless environment, i.e. not having a desktop at all. And it's not like this is going to be the death of KDE at all, as I'll come on to explain later on in this video. Mark Shuttleworth put out a blog post in response to the IBM takeover of Red Hat. I thought that this would be interesting to look through because it came out too late for me to include in my previous video. Over the past 2 years, many prominent Red Hat customers have selected Ubuntu and engaged Canonical to build leaner, more efficient, open source infrastructure solutions for important new initiatives. Among them we can count the world's leading banks, telcos, governments, universities, airlines, insurance companies, technology giants, and media conglomerates. Several have spoken publicly with increasing confidence of their Ubuntu success. The acquisition of Red Hat by IBM is a significant moment in the progression of open source to the mainstream. We salute Red Hat for the role it played in framing open source as a familiar, shrink-wrapped replacement for traditional Unix on Wintel terms. In that sense, Red Hat was a crucial step in the open source movement. Nevertheless, the world has moved on, replacing Linux is no longer sufficient. The decline in Red Hat growth, contrasted with the acceleration of Linux more broadly, is a strong market indicator of the next wave of open source. Public cloud workloads have largely avoided Red Hat, container workloads even more so, and there was also a blog post from Jonathan Riedel, Red Hat and KDE. So this is a direct response to the removal of KDE. The real surprise here is that Red Hat supported KDE at all. Back in the 90s they were entirely against KDE and put lots of efforts into our friendly rivals GNOME. It made some sense since at the time Qt was under a not quite free license, and there's no reason why a company would want to support another company's lock-in as well as shipping incompatible licenses. By the time Qt became fully free, they were firmly behind GNOME. Meanwhile, a team of hardworking volunteers packaged it anyway and gained many users. When Red Hat was turned into the all-open Fedora and the closed RHEL, Fedora was able to embrace KDE as it should, but at some point the Fedora Next initiative again put KDE software in second place. Meanwhile, RHEL did use Plasma 4 and hired a number of developers to help us in our time of need, which was fabulous, but all except one have left some time ago, and nobody expected it to continue for so long. So deprecation is not really new or news, and is being picked up by the news is poor timing for Red Hat. It's unclear if they want some distraction from the IBM news, or just the Register playing around. The community has always been much better at supporting our software for their users. Maybe now the community-run EPEL archive can include modern Plasma 5 instead of being stuck on much poorer previous release. So it mentions a few more things about KDE, and also states that we now ship on high-end devices such as KDE Slimbook, down to the low-spec value device of Pinebook. Yeah, and I have to say from my own experience, the memory usage of latest KDE desktop environment has really shrunk. It's near enough half what GNOME desktop is on the latest Ubuntu 18.10 release. It is nothing like a slow lumbering dinosaur, and it could even have had its place in the enterprise environment with the KDE kiosk framework. A systems administrator could configure what a user is able to access in the Plasma desktop environment. So yeah, the fact that Red Hat is deprecating KDE is not really going to be a problem long term for KDE. And they are still receiving support from other companies, and one in particular I knew about was Blue Systems. And looking at Blue Systems' website, so the projects that they support, 3 different KDE distributions there at the top. They support the KDE Plasma development and a variety of KDE projects. So yeah, not really a problem for KDE, and all in all, probably not really a huge amount of news. Sure, it limits choice for this enterprise distribution. Perhaps there will be a question of what will happen for Fedora, but it sounds like it's being community supported anyway, so I can't imagine that Fedora will be losing KDE. although their main focus would still appear to be GNOME. Thanks for watching, see you all later.